don't think I like this side of you.
Well, we did just meet like 2 days ago. It's about time we had our first argument.
You know what I think? Maybe we should take some time apart from one another and cool our heads.
Well, that should be easy.
Cause this water's gonna be freezing!
Hello world, welcome to LTS. My name is Steve. Here at LTS we discuss a wide array of topics, all from a Christian perspective of course, with the end goal of pointing everyone to the only thing in life that really matters. Before we begin, I ask that if you like this video and channel to please not forget to hit the like and subscribe button. So, all that being said, here we go. Today we continue with part 3 of our 4-part Titanic review series. And I want to begin by saying that I know that I've ragged a lot on Rose's character, which is certainly not a jab at Kate Winslet, who's a phenomenal actress. It's just that the story has her character doing things that are, let's say, very problematic.
You've got to do better.
Things that if this was any other movie or story, she may have been labeled as the villain of that story. But before we go on with this review, let me take a moment to mention some of Rose's positives. First thing is, she did her civic duty of wanting to save the life of the boy that was lost and scared in the hallway. And it was good that she came back to save Jack, who was left to die. And is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. But moving along, we now come to the third biggest issue with Titanic, the glorification of Jack. Now, as I said earlier, I know that this is a story from Rose's point of view, but everything about Jack's life feels like a facade. We begin to see this in the scene where Jack invites Rose to a party below decks. This scene is supposed to flip things around from the previous scene, where it now allows for Rose to be the eyes of the audience, bringing us into Jack's world. The only problem here is that this isn't Jack's world.
Tell me it's not true.
I mean, let's not forget that Jack could not afford his ticket onto the Titanic to begin with. He had to win his ticket aboard. So really any party, whether it was in the VIP section, economy, or steerage, would not have been an accurate depiction of Jack's life. I mean, he even states in a previous scene,
The other night I was sleeping under a bridge and now here I am on the grandest ship in the world having champagne with you fine people.
So what ends up happening is that you don't really know anything about Jack beyond what he claims to be true, which doesn't bring down the momentum of the movie, but it is an observation, because really, if we don't see his life, how do we know it's true? Which is only made worse in a later scene when this gentleman says,
There's no record of him at all.
the first problem here is I don't know when he would have had a chance to do a thorough investigation since he was there listening to Rose's story. The second issue is that while I understand why Jack's name would not have been on the passenger list on Titanic since he was there under someone else's name, why would there absolutely be no record of him at all? I mean, he was from the United States. You should have been able to find something on him or his family. So except for the fact that this movie wants you to believe that Jack is real, he almost sounds like a ghost or an imaginary friend. The moment the Titanic hits the iceberg, for me at least, is when the movie really begins. And I have to give the director, James Cameron, his props, because he has a way of making you feel like you're a part of the movie. I mean, every second from the moment the Titanic hits the iceberg to the end credits feels real. I mean, you're so captivated by what's going on that it's easy to overlook the movie's flaws, which when I think about it is a trait that I've noticed in a lot of his films. Like in the movie Avatar, which is a visually captivating film, so much so that it's easy to miss that movie's flaws.
You didn't see anything.
And the crazy thing about the movie Titanic is that even with it being over 20 years later, the effects still hold up very well. So all that being said, it's disappointing that a movie of this caliber has a problem like Rose.
That's messed up.
I mean, last week I talked about Cal, but that being said, I don't really believe that Rose loved Jack either. I feel this is demonstrated with that much debated scene in the end of could both Jack and Rose have been on that floating door. I mean, I know that not everyone is going to react the same, but I would like to believe that if your loved one was floating in ice cold water, you would want to figure something out or do something to help. I mean, even Jack himself explained to Rose earlier in the movie,
It hits you like 1,000 knives stabbing you all over your body. You can't breathe, can't think. At least not about anything but the pain.
now does this mean that Jack would have survived? No, not necessarily. But it does mean that it would have given him a chance.
Just give me a chance!
And more importantly, it would have shown us, the audience, that Rose truly cared about Jack's well-being. But Rose ends up thinking about the number one person in her life, Rose. And as we all well know, Jack doesn't make it. And then the Rose problem continues when we see old Rose, who years later is still doing what's best for her when it comes to dealing with Mr. Lovett. I mean, he invited her onto his ship. He allowed for her to tell him her story. And after all of that, she doesn't pay him the courtesy of at least allowing for him to even see the necklace.
That's messed up.
Why the secrecy? The necklace is technically in Rose's possession, so it's hers. What would have been the harm in allowing for him to at least see it? I mean, it's obvious that Mr. Lovett answers to someone for all of his expeditions. So while what he says,
3 years. I thought of nothing except Titanic, but I never got it. I never let it in.
sounds good on paper, it's not exactly going to pay the bills. And then if we think about, what about her granddaughter who takes care of her? It doesn't exactly look like she's living the lavish lifestyle. Why couldn't she have gifted it to her? But for some reason, she doesn't do that either.
You get nothing. You lose.
But despite all that being the case, with the movie Titanic, you can tell that a lot of love and effort went into the creation of this movie. And as a Christian, even though I have my complaints about this film, there are some amazing scenes here. And with all that being said, we come to the end of another video. Next week we conclude our Titanic review series, so I hope you'll check that out. And so if you like this video and channel, please do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time, I pray God's blessing on you and that you'll always seek Him first.
You've got to do better.